So I am an author of the Poolicious series. This is my the cover of my third book that's coming out. And so I'm a children's writer and then also an adult writer. I'm working on some things for adults and women. And I have a middle grade reader that's coming out. I'm also a advocate for special needs and disabilities. I'm a mom of 2 on the spectrum, and I think, you know, we become advocates from the time our kids are born, and it never really stops. But when we have a child who may be nonverbal or have extreme disabilities, it definitely, our role as an advocate changes. So I am very passionate about that. I'm also a live streamer. I have 2 shows on Facebook, Writers Corner Live TV, which is all about authors, which Miss Tiffany will be on soon, and Special Needs TV and Do Good TV. And working on a YouTube page for kids and a Facebook page for kids, empowering our kids now. So my focus has been, and I'm going to talk just briefly because I want Dr. Jane to talk, and we want to bring our moms on because that's the most important thing today, is hearing their stories and getting advice from them. So what my main focus has been the mental health well-being of my children through this. I think our littles are able to get through this a little bit more easy. What I have seen, because we can still go outside, we can still play. For us, I've been very fortunate. His teacher has come on with him for the last 7 weeks, 5 days a week from 9 to 10 in the morning, doing FaceTime, and sometimes other students have joined along with it. And so we've kept his academics going, and it's been that continuity has been extremely important for him. I think whether he wants to be there or not, he fusses sometimes, but it has been all around, it's been really fantastic, because I know this is not happening a lot in other public schools where the kids are able to keep up with what's going on because there's so many students in those classes. But also for my college and my high school girls, it has not felt like school to them. And friends of mine who are homeschool moms say this is not homeschooling. And it's not even trauma schooling, it's kind of stress schooling, because as a homeschool mom, their lives have completely been turned upside down. So I'm sad for that, but it was also a little comforting to know when your kids are saying, Mom, this feels fake, because I'm not on a schedule, I'm not sitting in a classroom, that what they're experiencing is not different than any other person or kids. My college daughter has had a really hard time with this, you know, leaving your roommates behind that you're very close to, that's your support system at school, and you're away from home, you don't get to see them. They really didn't get to say goodbye, like a summer break kind of thing. You know, it's like, hey, I'll see you after spring break. No, that didn't happen. Her school choir was supposed to tour Scotland and England this year, and that was, you know, so, you know, just some of that is really, it's done more damage than I think any of us know. I know the seniors are all having a hard time. We have a lot of friends with seniors this year, so we've been, you know, trying to be supportive of them. And but I've seen depression and anxiety, you know, so I have tried to keep them busy. I've tried to keep schedules the best that we can and have them, we have things to look forward to, because all of us, even grown-ups, right? If we don't have things to look forward to, what are we going to do? We're going to turn into just this sloth on the sofa, shoving stuff in our face and telling the kids to take care of themselves, you know, change your own diaper. I'm done, right? So because we don't want that kind of mess in the house, you know, if we give them things to do, then you know, as much as they may fight it, it really helps. I mean, we're going to start doing a journal and a time capsule for our family, because I think my girls and my son, when they have children someday in the future, will want to say, hey, this is what our family did back during this time. So I'm going to turn this over to Dr. Jane right now and let her chitty chat, Kathy chat for a second.
All right. Good morning, everyone. I'm a mom of 8. And I'm in medicine. I'm focusing on preventative services. I established a website that focuses on spiritual wholeness, how God intended for you to live through health, spiritual, and financial. So you can check out my website. I will put it in the chat box. I want to just give you a recap of last week. We had 2 moms last week. The first mom with 3 kids, and I had to figure out how to cope during this pandemic, and to find out really what her passion is. And then she finally took her about 3 weeks to figure out what her passion is, and then she went into e-commerce business, and focusing on personal development for children, talking about intentional parenting. And we know there's not a lot of success with intentional parenting. And then she focused on how to develop them personally. She had lots of challenges that she'd given them, trying to how to solve your own problems, figure it out before you come to me, then I'll help you during the process figuring out how to solve your problem. So what she was trying to do was minimize stress with her children. And then she introduced them to exercise because they were complaining about not sleeping at night. So she took them on for a 2-mile run and they could sleep better at night. Then the second mom, she was working in retail and beauty. She has a husband and a 9-year-old, and she had to focus on areas on how to manage her time with a 9-year-old during this pandemic. So what she was focusing on 3 areas: the guilt, the good, and the grace. And she talked about today, what was the cherry, what was the pit, and that's how what got them through the day and through this period. So she mainly focused on teaching a child resiliency, how to deal with life and how to overcome challenges through this period. All right, Mary, back to you.
Yeah, that was really good. Yeah, and that was 2 weeks ago. And I like the cherry in the pit thing.
Yes.
I thought that's really great because I say, what's your favorite thing today? What's your least favorite thing? But the cherry in the pit is really, I thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
And Audrey, she has got motivatemychild.com. You can go there. We talked about, she's got these amazing magnets. They're motivational magnets. I have them on my fridge, and my son likes to throw them at the fridge because they make a big smacking sound. So it's a great sensory thing. He gets satisfaction out of that. And I'm like, okay, I'm leaving the room. Just throw them at the fridge. It's free time, whatever. It's all good. It's safe and it's legal. And that's the important part of all of it, right? And so, but motivatemychild.com, she has the magnets, and they are I am, and then you are, and then they're different positive words, and they look like statements that come out of like a superhero comic. So it's really, really like pow and whoop, all those things. So I really love those, and I'm a big, I have a lot of passion, a big promoter of I am statements for children. So they're in all my books, and I like to start kids out as young as possible because that's free. That kind of power inside is free, and it's with you everywhere you go and everything you do in every situation. Just bring it out from inside yourself. So if we can teach that to kids starting young, wow, what a win for the future generations of our kids, right? So all right, we are going to go to Miss Tiffany now and let her talk to you about who she is and what she does and her family dynamic and all the good, bad, and the ugly of COVID, right?
Absolutely. So thank you again, Dr. Jane and Mary, for having me on today. I'm very honored to be here. My name is Tiffany Hinton, otherwise known as GF Mom Certified. I'm an advocate and an expert in the gluten-free world. I have celiac disease. I have a child with celiac disease. We have been serving and advocating and educating the gluten-free community for over 10 years. Multiple books, actually 16 books have been published, 2 US bestsellers and 1 international bestseller. And it's just continuing to evolve. We're actually launching a new website, which is kind of fun, in June as well. And there's just a whole bunch of just fun stuff. But my kids are 8, 7, and 6. So I had 3 in 3 years, or less than 3 years, 3 in diapers at the same time. And COVID has introduced new dynamics to our family. So we're a family of 5. And not only do I run Gluten-Free Mom Certified Corporation, I also, because I have a coaching degree, work in corporate coaching on behaviors and lean management and Six Sigma type stuff. So I was very, very busy, and then all of a sudden life kind of was turned upside down in March, like I think it was for many of us. Not only did our children come out of their Montessori program to be stuck at home, right? At least I'm very grateful that they have sisters, like there's 3 of them, and they're not just a single child, because I think it's probably harder for children that are alone and don't have siblings that they can play with. It's probably harder on the mom, and it's harder on those kids. But the other thing that happened is we had always had a nanny because I had been super busy and was working 12 to 14 hours a day. And when we went into the social distancing, stay at home, the nanny went away. And so that was another huge change for myself was, oh my gosh, now I have to figure out 3 meals a day. I have to do all this stuff that I hadn't done because we'd had help since my oldest was 2 weeks old. So my own life, I had to figure out how was I going to shift and juggle. And then there was a lot of inner growth for myself, but also for the girls. And one of the things that I really resonated with me that I was reading at the time was this whole segment on you have to choose to invest versus spend, and just changing that word in your vocabulary. So whether you're investing your time or you're investing, in nutrition, or you're investing in play, or you're like, and the girls have started to use that as well. And that kind of helped bring positivity back into our house. The other thing that changed for us drastically was all of their extracurriculars were closed. So I had a competing gymnast, we had a competitive swimmer, and yes, I know they're young, but they were still doing that at like entry level. And then I had one that was ready to start ice skating for very first time, and she never even got to go start her ice skating journey. And so that also was a different like dynamic. And we're learning now that the gymnasium where my competitive gymnasts may get to reopen because they were training Olympics. So my oldest, who's the competitive swimmer, is really missing her sport. And so she came even this past week and was like, Mom, if they reopen the gym and not the pool, can I at least try gymnastics? Because I just want to go and do a workout. And I was like, absolutely. If the gym gets reopened, you can switch sports for the summer. Let's get you somewhere to get you that exercise that I think Dr. Jane was just talking about as well, but also the social and the learning and just that competitiveness that she's used to. What I would say about what's working for us is we kind of threw time out the window. I took the schedule away from everybody. I prefer they go to bed by 10 o'clock, but I'm not upset if they're laying in bed reading anymore. There is no more, we used to have to be out of our house early in the morning. They had to be at school by 7:30 during the week because of the way that their private school worked. And that no longer, like the alarm doesn't go off at 5 a.m. for them to get up, to start morning routines, to make breakfast, to get everything ready in the morning. So that took off some stress. That took away some anxiety. Whenever you get up in the morning is great. If you wake up at 6, fabulous. If you want to sleep till 9, nobody cares. It's all on our own, and we've done that for the whole family. The other thing that has really worked for me was not only just getting rid of time, but allowing them to choose if they attended online school or not. And if they chose not to attend, I wasn't going to judge them. They weren't going to fail this semester. Like they have, a few weeks left, and they're in first grade, second grade, and third grade. So it's not like we're going after AP courses or a 4.0 in college. It's not a huge thing at their age, but I allowed them to make that choice based on how they were feeling. And things that I would say failure for us was trying to stick to the schedule when there was no point. Failure for us was also trying to stick to a curriculum and like check the boxes on everything the school was sending home. And then me realizing and having a conversation with one of the teachers that they were getting more out of hands-on, what I would call homeschool projects that I was getting from one of my cousins who's a homeschooler of 7 kids, than they were from the curriculum the school was sending us. So we turned to, they made wooden signs for the garden recently, from everything from nailing them together, helping me measure, and then I would cut, and then they painted them. They wrote like what we were growing. They've done a lot of outdoor stuff as well with the garden. They did seeds. We started an indoor greenhouse in order to grow light back in March so that they could grow tomatoes and cucumbers inside, which have now been transplanted outdoors. And so when I was talking to the teacher, that acknowledgement that she gave me, that the life skills were huge. And I was like, okay, I don't feel bad about me telling them like to throw out their spelling words and to forget their math right now, because they're still getting that through their life skills, and that made me feel better. The other thing that failed in the beginning was me trying to make all their meals. And a lot of moms, I think, are like so worried about nutrition or worried about them having 3 square meals a day. And I went back to kind of when I was being raised by my grandma, who said, if you're not hungry, I'm not going to make you eat. And she was one of the probably few women in her generation that didn't make you sit at the table until you cleaned your plate, because she realized that if the kid was hungry, they would eat. And if they weren't hungry, they were going to sit there and play for hours. And it didn't matter how angry she got. She had 52 grandchildren. I had the great blessing to actually live with her for 4 years of my life. So she had been through this many iterations, and using that mentality with my girls, they make their own breakfast and they make their own lunches, which gives me time during my day to do fun things like this and to service my clients. And I don't really care what they eat for those 2 meals, because I know what's available in our house is already nourishing and healthy. We live in a gluten-free house. We live in a house with lots of vegetables, lots of produce all the time. And so no matter what they're going to choose, there's really no junk that they could choose. So as much as they think they're eating junk for breakfast or lunch, it's not. So I'm okay with that, knowing that they can figure that out. And if they're not hungry, then they'll eat dinner later. So those are kind of things. My advice, I guess, for other moms is to acknowledge the things that you see in your children. Continue to praise them even for the small things, acknowledging them if they do carry their dish back to the kitchen sink, or acknowledging them if they make their bed, because for right now, the world is upside down. And so those small little things are huge. My other advice is we actually decided that we were going kind of back to snail mail. And so the girls every so often will come to me and ask for some stamps in an envelope. And we have a list of different names and addresses, and they've been sending out little pieces of mail throughout this whole experience. We had 2 envelopes go out this morning, and those bring cheer to other people. So that is my other piece of advice. Find a way to bring cheer to somebody else, because that all alone, your child, when they realize that, oh, when so-and-so gets this in the mail, they're going to smile. That makes the kids smile.
Yes, absolutely. I love everything you're saying. And I think that our kids have lost the life skills, because they're not, I mean, when I was in junior high, we had home economics. They no longer have home economics, right? So my mother and I talk about that all the time. So that is a focus in our house too. I've had one child go through cotillion because a friend of mine runs it here in our county. And then the other one was an assistant, because I thought that they need those proper skills. Not that I can't teach them in the home, but it was also a social interaction without me just teaching them at home how you sit at the table, always look somebody in the eye when you talk to them, give them a strong handshake because it shows confidence. This is how you set the table. This is how you answer all those things that we take for granted. It's in this time, if we can teach our kids to see the bigger picture of this time in our world, and that's granted, that's, I mean, there's a lot of suffering happening in the world and in our country as well. But if we can help them to see the bigger picture of what's happening, and okay, so we are coming back to ground zero. We are coming back to rebonding as a family. Let's get to know each other. I love my kids, so I love them home, even though the dynamic's kind of crazy, because I love that your kids are so close together, because you can get them closer on a sleeping schedule. I've got 2 teenagers that want to stay up all night and sleep until noon, 1 o'clock every day. And I'm like, and then I've got a guy who's in bed by 9 or 10 now, and he's up by 7. So it's all like, So we've had to sort of work with that a little bit. But the life skills are so important. And I just realized when I sent my oldest off to college, how many things, like I made a list of all this I wanted to teach her before she went. And it was like, I can't even believe she hasn't learned this yet. Why? Because being an efficient mom, I did it myself, correct? Right? I cooked dinner so they could get their homework done. Well, no, they should have been cooking with me in order to know how to take care of themselves efficiently. So we've added a lot of that back in. And I like everything that you're saying is very important, bringing it back to the basics of, what if we have to live off the land again? I mean, right? Who knows? Because nobody is coming.
Yeah. And so that is, I mean, those are things I was raised knowing. And that was another thing I had a realization of, Mary, is I was raised to learn how to use a drill and a saw, and like, cause I grew up on a farm, and a screwdriver was like put in your hand when you were 3. And it was like these things. And now we live, you know, in suburban Chicago, and you pay people to do those things. It's just the way it is. And so my girls at first were like, Mom, why are you power washing the house? I'm like, because I know how, and we can't touch anybody or talk to anybody. So somebody has to do it. And they're like, well, can I try? And I was like, sure, this is how it works. But it's that whole idea of like, oh, if you're going to do it, I should try at least. I should see if I can do it. And that has been kind of really cool as well, is them, well, how does that work?
Yeah, because then you have made empowering women. They're going to be empowered to not be feeling helpless, like I've got to have somebody else help me do this. And that is a helpless feeling. So kudos to you. It's brilliant what you're doing. And our kids are all going to survive. They may look a little different when they come out of this, but
they might have extra long hair.
Oh my heavens, yes, and beards and mustaches and all kinds of things. I don't know, but anyway, so okay, thank you so much for sharing. I'm so grateful you're here, and we're going to bring Jaime on and let her chat. And at the end of this, I want you guys to let everybody know where they can find you, you know, and whatever you have going on. Okay. So here's Miss Jaime.
Hello. Thank you so much, Mary. And thank you, Dr. Jane. This is awesome. Tiffany, I feel like you and I we're like on the same page, girlfriend. Like, I love what you said. I actually took several notes. So that was awesome. So thank you guys for having me here. As I mentioned, my name is Jaime Lynn Curley. And, you know, when Mary asked me to do this, I was like, oh, I don't know if I'm quite qualified for this. But, you know, it is. What I think is so cool about what everyone is sharing is that, like, we're just sharing what our experience is and what has worked and what hasn't. And my goodness, over the last 10 weeks, we've definitely figured that out. To give you a little bit of background on me, I am a mom of 3 girls as well. My oldest is 11. And my twins turned 8 during this quarantine time. So I have 3 girls. I spent my entire career, over 11 years, in the retail corporate industry. So I worked in retail, and I was in the fashion industry, and did what I absolutely loved for so many years, until my priorities were really shifted and I became a mom, and you know, working 50, 60 hours a week, traveling all the time, just was no longer what I wanted to do, right? So about 6.5 years ago, I transitioned and followed what I now know is my true passion, and I'm a wellness accountability coach. And I've been working from home, you know, my home-based business for the last 6.5 years. And I literally thought I had this whole work from home thing down pat. Like, I was the most time organized, efficient. I got my workouts in, I got my coffee dates, I got everything in, and still was so productive with work, right? And then all of a sudden, my 3 beautiful children are with me every single second of the day. So it was an adjustment, you know, it really, really was an adjustment for a while. My husband also works from home, and he's like the true, like, unsung hero of all of this, because and I think you said it, like, this is not homeschool. I'm not a homeschool mom. I am for certain not a teacher. Like, I just don't have the patience for it. But my husband sure does. So he has taken on so much of the brunt of this. But I will say that, you know, some of the things that, like, didn't work for us, you know, as well, were the trying to stick to a schedule. I will never forget that first weekend that everyone announced that we were going to be in quarantine. There was this beautiful colored schedule that was floating around social media, and I made my own, and I color coded it. I did a presentation to my kids, and it lasted like half of a day, you know. And Tiffany, I threw it out the window as well, you know. I was like, this just isn't for us. It was way too structured. I mean, I appreciate structure. I'm so big on time blocking, and I feel like we've developed that as a family over the course of the last 10 weeks. Time blocking my time for work, time blocking my time for myself, right, to actually get somewhat of a workout in, time blocking time together as a family every day. I will say that one of the biggest blessings has been time. You know, we've been given time, whether we realize it or not. You know, I also have a competitive gymnast. I have 2 dancers. We were in the car every single night for multiple hours, eating dinner together only one night a week. We only sat down at the dinner table one night a week, and that was usually on the weekends, right? And so this time, like, we have sat at our table every single night. Like, it's such a gift, such a gift. And, you know, you said, you talked about the cherry in the pit. You know, one thing that we do is we talk about one thing we're grateful for, and our favorite part of the day. And it has just evolved so much over the course of the last several, weeks, because it's really focusing our children to organically realize what's most important, right? Like the gratitude of, I have a home, I have this food on the table. Like they're appreciating my food, my cooking all of a sudden, it's like, yes, when they say, Mom, that was good, like how much does that warm your heart? And focusing in on the good, because these are really challenging times. You talked about graduation, and I have a 5th grader. So she was supposed to graduate from 5th grade and go to middle school. And in the school that we're in, they make such a big deal of 5th grade for them. And there were so many things planned, and obviously none of them are happening. And so it's that transition of helping our children through what they're experiencing. We definitely keep the news to a minimum. They don't talk about what's really happening. I mean, they see it, right? They see what's happening. The fact that we can't even hug our grandparents and things like that is definitely, I think the repercussions are things that we're going to all be dealing with for a very long time. But I love, what you had shared, and Dr. Jane, what you shared about the previous, few shows. I can't wait to go back and watch them, because I think there's so much value to what we can teach, the life skills that you mentioned, Tiffany, like really like getting into the kitchen and learning how to cook. And we call them family contributions around here, like folding the clothes, matching up the socks, like organizing the laundry, emptying the dishwasher. I mean, these are all things, Mary, just like you said, it's so much quicker for me to do on my own, or for my husband to do really quick. But incorporating my children into doing that has been so beneficial on so many levels, because I do run a business, and I'm in the health and wellness industry, and we are helping so many people right now. I mean, it is crazy. So we're busy, and it's so important for them to see that, you can do both, right? You can work from home. You can, and pretty early on in this, my girl said, Mom, I always wondered what you did when you were home, without us. And I was like, what did you think I did? But it's really cool for them to see, they've set up little desks in my office here. And we have, they have desks in their room. They have plenty of space in the house to go, but yet they want to be in here every day and doing their schoolwork and listening to me on calls. And I get to listen to them on Zooms. It has not always been pretty. I mean, let's be honest. Some of the things that you said failed, Tiffany, same here, right? Like sticking to the schedule. I'm not a homeschooling mom. Keeping things positive. I'm a very positive, upbeat person. I think early on we were, when things were so unclear, it was a little unnerving. And, I did my best to make sure that my girls didn't see that, because here's the thing, and this is what I really want to contribute to this conversation today, is our children, the people who live in our homes, see us. They see everything that we're doing right now, right? The good, the bad, and the ugly. And we can show up as like the best version of ourselves. Our kids see that, and they're going to start to mirror that as well. I believe so strongly that like we are their first mentors, and they're seeing what we're doing. I'm a wellness accountability coach, so health is super important for us. Tiffany, it sounds like it's very important in your household as well. Same thing. My kids can go to the kitchen. They can make their breakfast. They actually they think they're making their own YouTube videos, right? Because they love to watch YouTubers, and they're talking to nothing, right? But they're exemplifying what they're doing. And, I think they see a lot of that. I do a lot of Zoom calls and a lot of lives and things like that too. So they see that, and here they are talking their breakfast through, focusing in on like taking care of myself. And when I started my wellness journey 6.5 years ago, my well was empty. Like there was nothing else in it. I couldn't give any more. I had a 3-year-old and 3-month-old twins. I was getting ready to go back to work, and I was so tired. I was just exhausted, and I thought I was eating all the right things. I thought I was doing all the right things, but it turns out I wasn't fueling my body in the right way. And so, I coach women all the time, and moms specifically. I'm like, listen, I know you're doing it all for everybody else, but you have to feel your well. And that looks different for everybody. In my opinion, it's high quality nutrition, it's balance, It's eating the things you love. It's okay to have balance and everything in moderation. It's getting good sleep. It's moving your body. And it's that emotional connection too. Like I love that we're doing this. We get to connect with other like-minded women. That is so important now because look around, like we don't see anyone. So being able to surround ourselves with like-minded people, I think is so, so important right now because we will come out of this. We absolutely will. But it's up to you on how you come out of it, right? Do you come out of it exhausted, lethargic, feeling like you just ate everything in the house? Or do you come out of it saying like, I really made the most of that time? And I think that that's, up to us. We have that choice every single day. And when we make the positive choice, so will our children. Another thing that really worked for us, as I mentioned, I am an entrepreneur, and I love entrepreneurial ventures. And my oldest daughter, who is 11, started her own business during this time, and it came from a need. I like to say that I fill the gap in terms of nutrition for women. She's filling the gap for so many people. So it was my twins' birthday. And we wanted to do one of those yard signs that said happy birthday on it. And we couldn't find one in our community that would come and do it for us. So we ordered our own online and we set it up and we were like, oh, she said, this would be so cool if we could do this for other people in our neighborhood, right? What started as, let's do this for our neighborhood. She now has over 100 clients over the next few months. She is traveling to the neighboring towns, if you will. We are traveling with her, of course. And she's bringing joy and happiness. Her company is called Happy Wishes. She's bringing joy and happiness to people who are celebrating birthdays during these really challenging times, right? So the drive-by birthday parade is a huge thing right now. And she is so driven to do this. And she is having so much fun. She's bringing smiles to people's faces. She donates 10% of her sales back to a charity that's supporting people in our local community. So it's teaching her obviously money management and how to give, right? How to save. She's saving up for some things, of course. How to save, how to give, how to bring joy and happiness to other people. And that's like one of my other tips. It's just finding the joy in the now because there's so many challenges, everything. There's a lot of unknowns, right? But if you can find the joy in the simple things, if you can find a way to give back in some way, I think it really, really helps. It helps so much. Things like getting out, moving your body, taking a hike, texting some people that you love. It's just bringing the joy. And I would say that finally, the last thing is comparison is the thief of joy. Like we all deserve joy right now, but my goodness, comparison is the thief of joy. And I say this to my kids probably 3 or 4 times a day. I say to those who are, my daughter is a competitive gymnast. And I mean, we say every day before she goes into that, gym to practice, it's comparison is the thief of joy. Focus on your own journey. You can see people doing Pinterest desserts and all the things in the homes. And it's just not me. And I did find myself like, oh my gosh, well, she's doing that. I should be doing that. I should be doing that with my kids. My kids are going to fail. They're going to fall behind. And that's so far from it, right? Like the joy that I have is knowing that my kids are going to remember this time together. We've never spent as much time together as a family. And so that is the joy for me. And the joy is cooking together. And the joy is going on hikes and exploring where we live. I mean, we never would have done that because we would have been traveling so much. We would have been working so much. Our kids would have been involved in so many things. So, if I just leave you with those things, it's comparison is the thief of joy. Find your own joy and really, really enjoy it. And, make your health a priority so that your kids can do the same for them because, now is the time to create those really good habits when their eyes are on you 24/7. So I so appreciate this time with you guys. Thank you for having me. And I can't wait to watch your previous shows.
Oh, thank you, Jaime. That was awesome. I love it. I do. It's very inspirational, everything you're saying, but it's also, we're all being very transparent and very honest. And we've all had to find kind of what makes our family work. And I think being able to share our stories with each other, and I wish we could talk to millions of moms, right? Because everybody has got things that have worked for them and that have not, but we all have things we can learn from each other because none of us is perfect and we're all fumbling through this and we're all, all the moms I know are trying to stay in a positive place and kids emulate everything they see. And so I know, like what you were saying, Jaime, in the beginning of this, because I'm a very positive person too, and I try to get them to stay in that place. Come on, where are we empowered? Where is our power? Where is what we can do instead of being a victim? Okay, you've got to get them away from that victim mentality, because none of this is really, it's not happening at us or to, it's happening to everyone. And what's going to make the difference is how we react to it, coming through this, going through it, coming out of it. But we also, like you said, we have to show them how do they effectively, positively deal with stress and stressful situations in their lifetime. Otherwise, they're going to sit in the corner and they're going to cry when they're an adult and they're a mommy. And they're a mommy, like yours were so close together. Tiffany, yours were so close together. I mean, you know, my last guy, I was 44, turned 45 when I had my last baby, right? No planning there. It was all a God thing. And I birthed a child and I birthed the book series. Had no idea that was coming. But because my girls were older, they were able to come in and help take over. I mean, I ended up back in the hospital after having him, life-threatening post-surgical infection. Didn't know if I was coming out. Didn't know if he was going to survive. I mean, it was just really, if you don't have those resiliency skills and you're not taught that, I don't know how you get through things like that, you know? So we do have to gear them for that. And I'm so grateful for this time and being with my kids and being able to rebond and to be able to have an effect on them positively instead of the world. Because the world out there, not all of it, but a lot of it is some of it's very detrimental to our kids. Boys, girls, it does not matter. We've seen it on the news, you know. So I'm so grateful for this time with my family. And my husband's had to go to work every day. He's considered an essential worker. So, you know, it's kind of scary him coming home after being out, you know, but we try to clean and keep everything going and stuff. And I'm so grateful that you ladies have joined us. And I think we just have to keep trucking on. You know, I'm a writer by nature. And so writing has been very big for me. So I would add to the things that y'all have said is to write your way through this. You know, I have found that to be extremely healing for me in everyday situations. When we went into this, I think all of us like, okay, we're all going to do this. And like you said, you saw the schedule floating around. I copied one off for myself. I'm like, all right, this is going to be good because I have no idea how to do a schedule for my son. But because of his challenges that he has, I had to keep some of that going for him. And we were able to work that out. But I have written through so many things in my life. And what I understand is that if you don't get it out of here and you don't get it out of here and get it on paper, it eats away at you. So even if you still feel how you feel, but get it out, it has less power inside you destroying you. You can take and write about it and then burn it. I don't care. Throw it away. Stick it in I have so many notebooks. It's, you know, that's my thing. Is one of my things. I have a notebook with me everywhere I go in case inspiration comes for writing. Because I have downloads that happen at 3 o'clock in the morning and I'm like, oh, I love that. But can I just please sleep for 3-4 more hours? Okay. But if I don't write it down, it never comes back. I mean, I never get to write it or say it the same way it came that time. So I always have a notebook with me. Sometimes I use my audio recorder on my phone. But what I find is that when I'm having frustrations, because we all are home together, right? So there are that happen. The journaling has made a huge difference for me because I'm like, okay, so I said what I have to say. It's in the notebook. I've closed it. Now I go on and I do something else. And that is not hanging on me or burdening me down. So that is a suggestion I give, even for kids. Teach them how to journal through what they're going through. I'm working on creating a journal for kids right now, like age K through 2, 3, 4th grade. They can use in schools. And part of it is this. And it also helps them to figure out how they feel, because like my oldest, she was always terribly shy. She could never say how she felt. She can write it to me, but my kids growing up, I had them channel whatever they needed to into something creative, because even if you don't have a creative being, or maybe you don't have an athlete, right? An athlete or a non-athlete can at least journal about how they feel. So with my kids were upset, oh, you're mad at me, you're mad at this, dance it out, write it out, color it out, whatever you do. But let's not slam doors and let's scream awful things at people. You want to scream in a pillow? Fine. So that outlet for them. Now I have my 2 oldest, they are incredibly creative beings that they sing and art and all kinds of stuff. But it helped them to not sit in a black room with depression. It helped them have an outlet, because our inner spirit has got to have a creative outlet. I don't care who you are. Even if you don't think you're creative, I don't know, glue sticks together. You know what I mean? Something that channels how you feel, right, Dr. Jane?
Yes, Mary, mental health has become a big issue now. I've attached, in the chat box, I've attached a document on how to boost your immune system during this coronavirus. It's in your chat box, and I also attach my website in there. But let's talk about how to reduce stress. That's the biggest factor that we need to focus on. First, exercise is a good way to reduce stress, because exercise lowers the hormones in your body. So exercise, and then there's particularly yoga that's good, that works for you, where you can, work on your mindfulness and how to release stress. Then you can also light a candle with essential oils. I will recommend an essential oil candle. And there's special flavors, like lavender is my favorite. So you can burn a candle that reduces stress. Another way to reduce the stress is supplements. You can take supplements. You can take B12 if you're low on energy, or you can make sure you get your vitamin D3 if you did not get enough sunlight. You can reduce your caffeine intake. We drink a lot of coffee, but yes, but that causes anxiety. The caffeine is what causes anxiety. How to reduce stress is, you can chew gum. Gum makes you, gum is a stress reliever that makes you feel good about yourself. You can spend time with friends and family. You can laugh more, you can hug more, those are things. And don't procrastinate. Like Mary was saying, get a journal, write things down, do some things that can, get that stress out of you. And practice mindfulness. Mindfulness is where the yoga comes in, and you can, and also cuddling, I say cuddling. Reducing cuddling and hugging and kissing, those intimacy things, those actually help lower your blood pressure, help lowers your heart rate. And listen to music. Those are all stress relievers. So next time, I'll make sure I have an article on how to reduce some stress so we can share it. Back to you, Mary.
Thank you. Okay, so Tiffany and Jaime, y'all, real quick, tell everybody where they could find you. I know a lot of people with kids on the spectrum and with disabilities who most of those children, they're gut lining and they have a lot of gut issues. I mean, I have to be careful with my guy. Food can change him very quickly from a very easy to deal with child to someone who's very aggravated and angry. So, and I think that's probably can be a lot of adults' issues and they don't realize it. So, please let everybody know where they can find both of you ladies and anything that you have to offer, because you guys both have great tools that people can use online or ebook or video or, whatever. And that's pretty much what our world is right now.
Okay. So you can find me online at gfmomcertified.com, Instagram, Facebook. We actually have a Pinterest, YouTube, lots of health education videos on YouTube and Twitter. And then I would say from an offer standpoint, if you are somebody that's dealing with what you just talked about, Mary, around the food and behavior issues, I do have Journey to Health packages that I offer, where we can actually look at diet and come up with suggestions, and we can talk about rainbows of colors and different things like that. And I've worked with children as well on the spectrum and off the spectrum to help them acknowledge and know what they should be eating to help their body just live optimally. I'm trying to think if there was anything. When it comes to books, I'm going to make a huge suggestion. If you go to Amazon, just type in Tiffany Hinton, they'll all pop up. It's easier right now to get a Kindle version or an ebook because our printer is closed due to COVID virus. And so the warehouse is taking 6 to 9 weeks to ship tangible paper books. And so if we've got allergy-free cookbooks for children around birthday parties. Jaime, I love what you were talking about, because we're getting ready to do a birthday parade next week as well. And then we also have, so we have a birthday party book that's geared for kids to learn and cook. And then we also have a kids cookbook that's allergy-free, gluten-free, dairy-free, so forth. And just go for the ebooks or the Kindle books, because they're so much easier to get your hands on.
Yeah, and you know, a lot of publishers right now are they pushed all publishing back. You know, for anybody who is an author that's looking for a publisher, you know, the contracts are being pushed way back. So, you know, ebooking is really a good thing right now. You know, so what about you, Miss Jaime?
Yes, absolutely. So I can be found on Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn, and it's just by my name. So it's Jaime Lynn Curley, Jaime. And that is probably the best way to kind of connect with me on social. I live my life out loud on social media. So you kind of see the good, you see the bad, you see the mess, you know. I just believe that, you know, my mission is to really inspire women who want to make a change in their life, my brand is called The Tailor-Made Life, and it is to help women to create the life that they believe that they can live by design. And you can tailor make it. Everyone has different goals and different dreams. And so I do have it's kind of like an ebook. It's called, you know, the Backstage Manifesto. And we really focus in on how to define, you know, what the tailor-made life would look like for you, and how to create that. So I would say really the best way to find me is to come over, follow me on either Instagram or Facebook, and just send me a message and let me know that you saw me from here, and I'll be sure to email that right over. But it's really fun, especially right now when women are feeling so, I'm not saying everybody, but there are a lot of women who are feeling like, okay, I've been with my family for 10 weeks. I've kind of lost a little bit of my identity. What is going to happen for me, right? You know, and just kind of helping women to kind of come back to that place where, you know, I love every single facet of my life, but you still have to have like something for you. And I just really like to help women uncover that. So come on over, follow me, connect with me. I would love to, you know, hear your thoughts on what we shared today.
Yes, awesome. Absolutely. Thank you, ladies, so much. And I can't wait to go back and watch. And I can't wait for the moms we have coming up for the next several weeks, because everybody's just got some gold nuggets, don't we? And I think it's awesome. I love learning from you ladies and spending this time this morning. Thank you so much for sharing. And this is coffee. This is cheers to our survival. Okay.
All right.
Cheers, ladies.
Great.
Bye.
Thank you so much. Have a great day.
Yes, you too. Bye.
Bye.